What's up, guys? I'm here with Anthony Aramini, and I wanted to do an interview with him because he's a very, very successful sales consultant, and I thought a lot of what he does actually bridge and gap into everything that I teach inside the natural system. So I'm gonna let Anthony introduce himself and welcome, first of all, and just kind of give your background, your story as how you got into everything that you're doing now.
Awesome. So, first and foremost, I appreciate you having me on. What's going on, fam? Natural Society. So, a little bit about me. I'll keep it nice, short, and sweet. We literally just wrapped up a couple of, not just some sales calls, but sales consulting calls, and really helping people grow their business and increase their sales production. And to be really honest with you guys who are watching the video, I've accidentally slipped into a role of being a sales consultant. Okay. I've accidentally slipped into the role of being a sales consultant. I mean, I first got started in my online entrepreneurial journey a couple of years back, got into coaching and got my life coaching certification. And ever since stepping into that role...
Yeah, that's where I saw all your content and shit. Sorry to budge in.
Yeah, and it's a funny story because Mo and I actually started around the same time frame. So yeah. I'm sure we could also elaborate on some of the biggest challenges that you and I have both experienced.
Yeah, for sure.
Because, I mean, in the beginning, you think you're going to go one way. For me, it was life coaching and really working with people just one-on-one and helping them with all areas of their life. But then over a period of time, as you start growing personally, professionally, and starting to really uncover the things that you're most passionate about, your backstory, what have you done since you were a kid? Oh, okay, well, my biological father ends up leaving my family at the age of around 5, being extremely abusive, slips my mom into a role where she has to work 2 jobs just to put food on the table, and I see her constantly struggling, and then all of a sudden at around, Saturday night, where mom actually has to go now sell flowers on the street corner of Queens, and that's all just to get food in our back and clothes on our back and food on our table. And so I just remember seeing a lot of these scenarios and just understanding that my mom actually needs help. And even though I'm 4 or 5 years old at the time, I can do something because as a child, all we want to really do is help. So I took it upon myself, and my sales career ended up starting around age 4 or 5. Every Saturday night, we go out to the street corner of Queens, and we would sell flowers vigorously. And my pitch, which was pretty cute, I still remember it today actually, and it was, my mom used to say, "Hey, go walk up to those 2 gentlemen over there, or that girl, and the guy who's taking the lady out, and just say, hey, it looks like you guys are having a nice time. I bet you she'd really appreciate it if you bought her a rose." And literally, here you have this 4 or 5-year-old who's walking up to the people who are around, taking each other out on dates. And long and behold, they'd be buying roses.
How do you think learning sales in your business, and obviously in the past year or 2 years, if you guys don't know, Anthony is one of the guys that I get on a weekly mastermind call with, and we actually discuss ideas, we discuss our goals and everything like that. And I've really seen him grow.
We hold each other accountable.
Yeah, we hold each other accountable, yeah. And I've really seen him grow within the past year, where he's actually making a full-time income pretty much from what he's doing. So how do you think sales ties in with influencing other people? And how can you make sure you do it in a way where it's always creating win-win situations?
Oh yeah. So I definitely love that question first and foremost. So for
off the top of my head.
For anyone who's listening, you have to recognize for a moment that sales is not closing, right? So there are 2 different types of approaches when it comes to the actual deal, and that is, first, you have to sell, and then 2, you have to close. Right? So selling, which is the transference of emotion, is no different than just approaching pickup, take for example, or relationship psychology. You've got to walk up to the girl, make the approach. Step number 2 for the sales process being the actual greet. And guys, I apologize for the background noise. We're actually here in a place called WeWork. It's pretty late. It's probably maybe 10:30.
Yeah, about 10:30. There's nobody else here.
So welcome to the nighttime grind, man. But anyways, it's literally no different. You walk up to the girl, you got to build rapport. In a sale, it's no different. So you have your step number one, which is your attitude, your demeanor, the way you're actually carrying yourself. Step two, it's all about the greet. You know, in a professional setting, it's shaking someone's hand or reaching out to them over on social media and vice versa. Then step three, it's all about fact finding. In relationships and pickup, it doesn't seem to be anything different because, you know, on the flip side, where it's like, what do you guys call it, beta male behavior or something like that?
Beta versus alpha.
Yeah, so like beta male behavior is like you're constantly trying to validate yourself to the girl and constantly talk and I do this and do that and drive this type of car and I have this much money in my account, versus like flipping the script and like getting to know all about the girl, which is more of, hey, you know, what are you inspired by? What are you passionate about? Like, what's your goals? So selling, closing in a professional setting isn't that different from, you know, relationship psychology and being a pickup artist from what I've seen from you and over you guys at the community.
Cool. Yeah, I want to also tie in with that too, because I've done sales before as well. I mean, I still do sales for my company whenever I have people who are interested for, you know, boot camps and stuff. And it's so closely related to each other because, like you said, most guys, they go up to a girl and they're like always trying to talk, and they're investing a lot, versus like having the girl actually invest in them and finding out whether, you said something while we were coming down. I told you, I was like, you're like, oh, I got 2 consultant calls tomorrow. And I was like, no, it's not calls, it's fucking sales. And you're like, well, not necessarily. I want to make sure that the people that I'm selling to are actually dedicated so that they help my business. So the same thing is with the girls. Like, most guys are always trying to qualify themselves without even knowing the girl. And it's like, well, what if you don't like the girl? You know, let her qualify to see whether she'd fit into your lifestyle. So that's really interesting that you said that, because it really like went in my mind. But tying back to the sales, what's one sales technique that you've personally used that has allowed you to influence other people? Just a quick, like, tidbit.
Complete detachment. Like, absolute detachment. The easiest way to miss a sale is no different than the easiest way to lose a girl, which is attachment, right? The more attached you are to the sale, the more hungry you are to actually need it, the more hungry you are to possess a girl, the less you're going to actually have it. So in sales, what I say is 80% of the selling should be and always must be done from your prospect. 80% of the diagnosing, which is fact-finding, asking questions, really getting to learn about that person, is done by you. Therefore, 20% of the selling is done by you when at that point within the sales conversation, you flip the script and say, hey, in just a moment, we're going to go ahead and switch gears. Just tell me, you know, before we go ahead and talk about anything else, is there anything else I should know about your current situation that you haven't yet told me? Right, asking that question.
This is what we call in game finding out logistics.
Finding out logistics, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the logistics. Like, where does she live? Like, does she have roommates that would like mess up the pool? Does she live like far away from you? Did she come with a cab or did she come with a car? How's she getting home?
That's interesting.
That what it would be in sales, like the equivalent of it?
Not so much. So the deeper questions actually happen more in the beginning as opposed to really in the end. So like in real effective sales, we find that your customer is going to come to you asking for something that they don't even themselves yet know that they want.
Yeah.
Think of a person who walked into a dealership looking for a blue car and walks out with a gray car.
Yeah.
Right, so it's you being the professional, right? You want to make sure of various factors. One, are you really helping the person in front of you understand their pain, right? So number one, do you understand their pain? Are you asking questions? Number two, are you communicating back to your prospect that you really do understand their pain? And it's not just a matter of therefore you telling it to me and then I'm just saying, yeah, I hear you. I hear, okay, we're gonna do this.
Yeah.
But more of like, I hear you, what you're saying is X, Y, and Z, that I get that right. Awesome. So then tell me more about that. Or where did that start? How long have you been experiencing it? What have you done in an attempt to overcome that challenge? What did you like about that result? What didn't you like about that result?
Yeah.
Right? And really finding out, what they're currently going through. Because once you really understand them and where they're at, now you understand their pain, where they really want to go, their goals. And now you start to really paint a picture of what's the cost, what's the pain of them staying exactly where they're at right now. Cool. So I'm not too sure where that left off, but I'll repeat, that entire side again, because it's really, really important to understand. The second you believe in the middle of a deal or a negotiation that you've got the person, like this is someone who has to close, you lean in so early that you push yourself back into a corner and just say, hey, look, I'm just another salesperson trying to push you into really getting this close, as opposed to staying at the height of your game, which is diagnosing, being the specialist. You're not going to walk up to a freaking brain surgeon who's the top of their game, number one in all of Manhattan, and say, you have to work with me. You have to work with me. No, that doctor's going to have a process in place that you got to maneuver around to really get to being on their schedule, being on their what do you call it, like those like checkup procedures, and then finally situating themselves over on the table. So in relationships and dating or pickup, it's absolutely no different.
There is no difference. That's very, very interesting you say that, because in this, like, one thing is, like, if you're always going up to the girl and you're expecting something of her, or you're like, oh, I like this girl, this is my perfect girl, then all of a sudden you're just another guy who's trying to get her, which is really, really interesting. So I hope you guys liked Anthony's stuff. I'm going to leave a link down. Should I put your Facebook down below? Or?
Yeah.
Okay, I'm going to leave a link down to his Facebook. If you want to check out more sales stuff from him and ask him questions about sales, you can just add him on Facebook. Is it a fan page or no?
It's my personal Facebook. You have questions, just shoot me a private message. Engage. We do live streams from here and there, so we allow people to come on, ask questions, specific objections if you're someone in sales, or follow up, or you have any sales related challenges, and just let me know. I'll be able to either help you or point you to a different direction. I want to leave them with this, because I can't talk about sales without talking about
like to your chest. Yeah.
Cool. I can't talk about sales without really talking about this. It's one thing to be super hungry for the sale and miss it because you're hungry for it. It's another thing to be at the end of your sales-related conversation and know in the back of your mind whether or not you can't help them or you can. And if you can't, being open and transparent with them, right? And then finally pointing them in the right direction. So let's use this for an analogy to be in like relationships. What if you're picking up a girl who, as you're starting to learn about them, they just don't happen to fit your qualifications of who it is that you really want to talk to them or spend more time with them or whatnot. Like, does your value say that all you want to do is hook up with that person? Like, do you really want to spend the next 30 minutes or an hour, like, getting yourself into a zone where you're having intercourse with someone you're really not even attracted to?
Yeah.
If not, look, just communicate it to them. Say, hey, look, I'm not feeling this. And just say, like, I apologize, I'm not feeling this.
That's exactly what I say. So I'm really glad you ended it off with that. That's really good. Thanks, man. All right, link down below, and I'll talk to you guys soon. Peace.